My name is Stokely, and this is Voices. That scene was a very electrified, explosive, pregnant moment, in music for the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, primarily because of, brother Prince, may he rest in peace, rest in paradise. And there were so many babies from that sound, from that era, offsprings, musical offsprings, as we say. And I guess we were indirectly, one of them, coming from right up under Jam and Lewis's helm, which they were in the time, which was one of Prince's groups that he put together with Morris Day. And that whole legacy. But I mean, there was a bunch of stuff happening that people nationally didn't know about, there was a lot of local people who were amazing, who you don't know about. And so they were a big influence as well. And for the people that you did hear about. So that's how you kind of get that sound. And being that we're in the Midwest, which is primarily, you hear a lot of rock and roll, and it was a lot of, I guess sometimes people say hippie music. It was like Middle America was white America, so all that hybrid music was mixed up in there. So that's why Prince sounded the way he did, with the whole rock and roll influence and that whole thing. So all that kind of just spread, with everything, and that's with even the look as well, too. You had the whole androgynous, sissy boy look, that kind of thing, which is kind of that glammed up rock thing. And so, man, it was just really an amazing moment, for R&B, and just like you're looking at these bands, first of all, who played instrumentation, and then it was the live presentation was just like it was full. So you had bands playing, there was choreography, there was singing, there was all these antics, there was always like a character. So it was kind of like, you find out who and what you want to be, and that was your presentation. So I came up under that, and as well as, like, of course, the greats like James Brown, all these people who had these, incredible presentation, Michael Jackson, all these, that kind of thing. So, yeah, man, it was just all in there. So we had that whole Minneapolis thing happen, as well as things on the outside that we loved. Motown music, my experiences with, drum and dance as a percussionist coming up, and then learning all these different instruments, playing in these different groups. So all these things were going on at the same time, and I was just taking it in, and it has somehow funneled out into the world as you've heard it and what you know me to be today. Amazing. I think that night it was part of since Mint Condition at the time, we weren't a cover group. We played a lot of original music, so our performance would be limited to special events, a lot of showcases, things like that. And then that was a showcase we were at. And however, I think we got paid $25 or something like that for all of us to share at the time. But we didn't really look at it that we might have given that money to the sound man or something like that. I don't know. But it was amazing just to be there in that whole thing. This was the thing that this venue was, Purple Rain was made in. And just to be a part of that legacy was pretty amazing. So, well, what's funny, we had a kind of an indication that it was a good song. We thought it was, it's an old song because it was we used to open with that song locally, so we've been playing it for a long, long, long time. And it was one of those things that would capture, starting with the ballad. We weren't really a ballad band. We had all this pent up energy, and it was just more kind of R&B, rock and roll funk. You know what I mean? And but we would start with this song because it would capture people's attention with that, that's how we started out. And I think, it was one of those things where we played it around town a couple times, and people were like, you guys want to play that brown-eyed girl? You want to play that brown song? So we knew then it was an indication that we had something. But the first time, I think, I'm sure we were out of town, and hearing it outside of, Twin Cities was the thing, like hearing it in New York. And we were like, man, what? oh, we're actually doing it, you know. So I think that's when it really started taking off. But after, because what happened, actually, let me back up. That wasn't the first single. The first single was released, and that went up a little bit and went down the charts. So, but as it was coming down, we released the second single, which was Breaking My Heart, and that went up a little bit too and started to come down. It kind of stalled somewhere, and Jim and Terry had the idea of like, you know, we got to go ahead and, you know, put some gas on this thing. How do we do that? Get out here and touch the people. So we went to all the HBCUs around the country. You know, came out in Morgan State out here. You know, we went to Howard University, and at the time we were looking for a drummer, because the drummer at the time we had who just went to play with Prince. Michael Bland was a good friend of ours, and so we found our other little brother, Chris Daddy Dave, went to Howard University. He stayed with us for about a good 10 years or so, and so yeah, that was really what did it. After that, you know, it really started going to the charts, and just didn't stop, and we hit number 3. And the people who were the 2 songs that kept us out of number 1 were Prince and Michael Jackson. Michael, remember the time, and I think Prince had out Diamonds and Pearls or something like that. So we were good with that. The legacy of Mint Condition, I hope it is one of, first and foremost, taking a bunch of young brothers from a neighborhood, being a band, which is, I mean, I think we really overcame a lot of odds in the industry, so to speak, because at the time we were signed, bands were not the end thing to do. It wasn't cool, it wasn't the hot thing. And I think one of the reasons is because people had discovered, you know, track recordings, you know, playback got to be really popular because it was cost effective. You know, you can take a track, you don't have to hire a band. You can have a solo artist and you just pay the solo artist and the road manager, and that's it. You keep it moving. Whereas we stuck to our guns, that's what we grew up on. We saw Earth, Wind & Fire, Queen, Rush, you know, Ohio Players, all these people, you know, Zapp, Roger Troutman. That's what we wanted to be. You know, you've seen, you know, drummer, bass, guitars, keyboards, horns even up there doing the thing. Sweating had a show. The presentation was just like, he just blew you back. And we were still on that, and we still thought that was valuable. And we thought it was a fight because, you know, a lot of the labels at the time were like, well, it's not really cost effective to do that kind of thing. We're like, oh man, but just come and watch us. Come and see us. And then we never thought we were a hard sell, but then once they would see it, they were like, okay, the impact that it had, you can't argue with that. So I mean, we always felt that was great. So I think Baddest Band in the Land, yeah, I mean, that's as a tag or whatever, that's great. There's many incredible bands out there, but I think for our time, you know, we definitely signed our name, you know, left a mark, signature, just to kind of promote the culture, you know, uplift the culture, change the culture a little bit, and say that and it's still I think with the idea, concept of bands is a great thing. You see people using a lot of bands now. So I think our legacy is definitely intact, and it's inspired a whole lot of musicians, and people wanted to get better. People want to even be in a band just like we did. So it's the gift that keeps giving, you know, so I feel really, really proud about that. You know, it's tone I was just listening to the other day, right now, just because it changes when women are pregnant. If you listen to this new thing that Beyonce, I just heard it for the first time, she did Frankie Beverly's thing over. The tone that she has right now is amazing, because I like women who have these contralto voices you don't hear, these very like Jesse Norman, the operatic singer, has. I mean, a friend of mine, Pat, who sing with Sounds of Blackness, sang with Luther Vandross too. But there are a lot of people. I love folks like Tank. You know, I can appreciate, you know, his range and everything. It just his delivery. There's just so many people out, man. Oh my goodness, of course, you know, Layla Hathaway, here's another one with that silky brown buttery, you know, thing. Lettucey is another one of my absolute favorites. You talk about range, come on. There's so many, man. There's too many to mention, but that's just a few of them that I really love listening to over and over and over. You know, true song from beginning to end. You have an intro, you know, Begin, there's the verse, a chorus, there's a bridge, there's a lift, you know what I mean? These are the things that you don't find in popular music these days, you know. And then with the lyrics, you know, the way that the lyrics were painted was just a really heartfelt, you know, moment. You know, I think everybody can relate to that, just having somebody see the world, and I say this all the time, see the world the same way you do. Someone to love, just that lyric, that thought is so universal, you know. It's amazing. Just, I mean, sonically picking from the keyboards, the guitar, and I think that song was the perfect use of space, which is, I think that's probably where it hits everybody. Not only lyrically, we would always think too, it's like, look, everything has to be a hit. The music has to be a hit, you know, without the lyrics. So if you can listen to that and you can roll with it, kind of vibe with it, that means a lot, you know. And then lyrically, it's got to be a hit. Melodically, it's got to be a hit. We would always think of, you know, on those terms. So everything needs to hit somebody. So I appreciate that. You definitely appreciate that, because we, you know, as artists, we put a lot of hours and a lot of thought into those small moments. I call it, even what I do now, I call it sonic art. When you look at an art piece, you're going to see something, you turn your head another way, you're going to see like a different angle. You know what I mean? Same when you put on headphones, and hopefully you get to the point where you listen to something 20 times, but the 20th time you hear, it's like, wow, I never heard that. So it's just like an art piece. It's just sonically, you know, through your ears you're getting that. Well, I've always, a couple of times I did just a hint of things like that. I was always active outside of Mint, you know, before, you know, during, and now, all the stuff that I'm doing now. I think I always liked to take in different energy, keep it moving, you know, not continue to do the same things, you know, with the same people. I think that's what, you know, true musician is about, just trying to continue to reach higher ground, deeper, you know, reach deeper and find out who you are, and say things in a different way. And you need people around you, sometimes different people, to do that too. So I've always been an advocate of that, and that's been natural for me. That's been my natural progression. It's been my natural flow in my musical life. I am totally into what I'm doing. It's an amazing journey, man. Just continuing my path with music, digging more into myself, digging more into who I am. You know, just how I feel about the world, what I'm reflecting, how it's funneling through me. I'm having an incredible time writing, producing, discovering self. You know, I think just getting to that next plateau. Still looking to collaborate. Also looking, you know, I'm at a point now where I'm, you know, mentoring a few other people. Artists want to have their voices heard too, and because they see the world differently now. Their voices should be heard and should continue. Good music should be continued, and, you know, yeah, man, just kind of trying to just move the ball forward a little bit, push the needle, and from my energy, just have people experience what it is that I'm trying to do. You know, I'm kind of like a bridge, you know, old school and new school. I love analog, I love digital, and bringing those two worlds together, you know, from my experiences and where I see music could go, you know, just from my perspective. And yeah, it's a lot of good energy. It's a lot of fun, so I would encourage people to come to the show. I have the new CD coming out, which is going to be pretty explosive, I think. I like it, you know, and the artists got to like their own stuff first, and then, you know, we all go out there and we do everything we got to do, and then we go out and roll the dice, and hopefully people feel the same way that I do. You know, hopefully me and 2 million others feel the same way, and we're just gonna spread this thing to the masses. And it's been an incredible ride, man. I'm loving it right now. Got a great band. I mean, they're amazing people. So just, you know, players, and just, you know, been having a great time with you know, the usual suspects around the country, around the world that you tends to be a smaller world. You know, the longer you do this thing, you tour with the same people, and, you know, it's amazing, man.